Please welcome Dougie Miller.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Very excited to be your host for tonight. Thank you for coming out. Spring has sprung. It's definitely allergy sneezing. So I hope that you have taken your Zyrtec and you have a little drinky so you're ready to enjoy this wonderful evening. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, so let's do this first. Raise your hand if you have been here before and you are rejoining us. All right, let's give a welcome round of applause. Welcome back, everybody. Great to see you. And a lot of new faces, too, especially with our great community partnership event tonight. So please raise your hand if you are new to StorySLAM here in Montclair Film. All right, huge round of applause for our new faces. Welcome. Thank you for being here. As Jennifer mentioned, this is a very special night tonight. We're working with our dear friends at Partners for Health and wanted to bring together a night of storytelling to focus on the true meaning of community. Partners for Health's vision of thriving communities ensures that health for all is greatly informed by the voices of the safety net organizations that fund through their grants. The residents they serve, the great people, the powerful work, this is an organization that we are proud to partner with. Let's give it up for Partners for Health and the incredible work that they do. Thank you. Unlike our usual format, however, this is not a competition. We do have plenty of swag and prizes, storytellers. Don't freak out and leave. Thank you. Tonight is all about sharing and building community around our special theme. We're going to go over the rules of engagement for tonight, so storytellers listen up, and then I will remind you of tonight's theme for our time together. First things first, 6 minutes is your time limit, storytellers. The beautiful Jennifer in the front here will give you your reminders. Green card first, you are halfway through, 3-minute mark. When you get the yellow card, you're at 1 minute left, 5 minutes, have elapsed, and your red card, well, you know what that means. You're done. We will not yank you off like the Apollo, don't you worry, but we will ask you to please wrap up if you see that red card. Really, the most important thing is to be on theme. We will have an intermission, as Jennifer said, so we will open up the bar, have a chance to hit the restroom after our first half of our storytellers. But our theme for tonight, we're so excited to get started, is Better Together. When things in life don't go as planned, we got to dig deep for strength to get through. Tonight, we're going to hear stories about when your community lifted you up and supported you on your journey in health and otherwise. Let's jump in with our first storyteller of the evening. Please give it up for Deborah Weber. Round of applause.
There is community in organizations, in neighborhoods, at the workplace, but there is no community like the theater community. And Broadway, those are my peeps. So, it starts in a rehearsal hall, and then it grows during technical rehearsals, this community of crazy, and then during previews it gets stronger, opening night it's celebrated, and once it's open, it's a family. Whether it runs long or runs short, it's a family. There are celebrations of birthdays, baby showers, and the stage managers will decorate the hallways for any holiday possible because guess what? We're working on those holidays. So, and also I think communities intersect. The LGBTQ community has always been part of the theater community. And with that, I can take you back in time a bit to the mid-1980s when a strange thing was happening. And there's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. So young people, mostly men, were becoming very pale and thin and sick. And it was just weird. I just remember Terry saying to me, oh, there's something wrong with my immune system. The doctors don't know what it is. And then 2 weeks later, Greg saying the same thing. And then Michael whispering something about this mysterious gay cancer. What? We are in our 20s. We're invincible. What could this be? But it was musicians, actors, dancers, choreographers, directors. It didn't leave anyone untouched. And eventually, everyone became so sick because their immune systems were so compromised. They would get pneumonia, tuberculosis, and this strange phenomenon called Kaposi sarcoma, which was bruises that would appear on their arms, legs, and faces. So not only were they sick, they were marked as sick. And you have to know that a lot of the members of our community were cast out by their own family communities because they were other than. And so now those families wanted nothing to do with sickness or the word gay or the word AIDS. So when they became too sick to work, we jumped in. Those of us who were healthy, we asked our supervisors to put us down on payroll as Richard, as Michael, as Scott, so they wouldn't lose their health insurance. And then organizations were born out of this. There was Equity Fights AIDS, which was started by the Actors Union. There was Broadway Cares, which was started by producers for outreach and fund medical research that our government wasn't doing and to help people with their bills. And those organizations merged, and today they are still at the forefront of all of the research and outreach that is done. They have galas, they have auctions, they have red bucket collections at the end of shows. It's just amazing what they do. And then another group that started was God's Love We Deliver. It was secular. It started in one woman's kitchen. She was cooking for friends, and then it expanded. I think it's grown out of 2 headquarters by now and serves thousands of people all over New York City with any kind of life-saving illness. But at that time, it started with AIDS. So we were happy our friends were being taken care of, but yet we knew that they wouldn't eat unless someone helped them because the virus was also in their brains. So that's when our boots literally hit the ground. We fanned out all over New York City between shows, before our call times, in the mornings, and we made sure that they ate, whether they knew us or not. But the thing is, the result was almost always the same. They would rally for a bit, and then there would be hospitalization, and then we would be planning funerals and memorial services weekly for years. It was just mind-boggling. But we did it. This was our community, and we held ourselves up. So around 1987, an amazing drug came to market called AZT, and people could live with AIDS for much longer. And now, oh my goodness, I watch TV and I see commercials for drugs that can prolong your life and you can live symptom-free and undetectable, and it's like, oh my God, how great is that? And of course, that makes me think of all the bright lights we lost. And what could have been if they had the gift of time. So now I have to say there's an Irish blessing that comes to mind. May you live long enough to comb gray hairs. So there's a group of us that we see each other, we recognize our white, silver, and no hairs. And I know that these gifts of Dennis and Ken and Paula and Benjamin, we are a community, and our boots will always hit the ground, maybe slower, and because we are a community, and the show will go on.
Thank you, Deb. Let's keep it going for Deb. Get a few people in to grab a seat, please. Come on in. Reflected a lot on that terminology as I thought about the theater shutdown at the beginning of the pandemic. Essential personnel, right? Storytellers, artists, how are they not essential? It's hard to reflect back, and people that needed work especially couldn't get it, and we essentially needed them to give us art. We suffered through that together. But we're back better than ever. Thanks, Deb, for starting us off. All right, we're going to keep it going with one of our friends from Partners for Health. Let's welcome to the stage Dr. Takia Sears. Give it up for Takia.
Hi, everyone. So before I start, I'm going to read a scripture. 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 10. So in 2021, I made a life-changing decision. I was an assistant professor, program director at a college in New York City. I just created a new public health program, and I was so happy. I was excited. That was something, a big accomplishment for me as a first-generation student to have that accomplishment. But then I was offered a position to be an assistant dean of education at another college for their Masters of Public Health program. And that, I was super excited because, that was something I did not think about in my 5-year plan. I'm a planner. I like to plan things ahead, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But I did not have that in my plan, but I was super, super ecstatic, especially because they offered me $40,000 more than my salary what I was asking them for. However, as time progressed, I found myself feeling uneasy about the position. I was excited, ecstatic, but then there was no peace inside here, our intuition. So I wasn't feeling any peace about it. So what happened was, in about October 2022, I've been praying about it. I'm a woman of faith, been praying about this particular position. And one of my friends, who's in the audience today, told me, you know what? Sometimes there's a green light, a red light, or a yellow light. So yellow lights, proceed with caution. So that's what I did, proceeded with caution. So I did put in my resignation with my current position, and then I was like, all right, I'm going toward this new position. However, the fine print of this new position asked me to compromise something that I did not want to compromise. So I had to wrestle between wanting to compromise or, you know what, I'm just not going to compromise at all. So I chose the latter. And I decided not to go for that company anymore. In addition to that, I still didn't even stay at my current job at that time. I kept my resignation with them. So I was unemployed. And that was a really hard decision to make. One, because I did not want to let my mom down, my family down. But in that, it was hard for me to understand because I had a plan, that I wanted to actually execute this plan. And being unable to do so was challenging for me. So what I decided to do was, I prayed a lot, talked to my friends, some of them are here today. And then in addition to that, I really searched within myself actually what I need to do. So I went to a place of uncertainty, of unknown, and then eventually I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take a leap of faith. I'm gonna step out the boat, and I'm gonna do what I have to do. And that's what I did. I stepped out of my fear, my doubt, and I actually did what I had to do. In that time, my community held me up. They encouraged me. They loved on me, and most importantly, they saw me. They saw me. They didn't see, for example, someone who had so much doubt or insecurity. They saw the woman that God was calling me to be. And that was where I found my strength. So then, in that time, I found myself, you know what? I'm just going to see exactly what I need to do. I rested a lot, rested a lot, ate a lot, because I love to eat and I love to cook. I watched Gordon Ramsay a lot. So. But yeah, I did all those things. But I started my own business. And I started my business called It Begins With I Am. And this particular business focuses on helping communities through curriculums, through workshops, through trainings, not only focusing on the needs of the organization, but how can they serve the communities better, what they can actually do to improve the communities. In addition to that, the burden that was been on my heart to help young ladies who are dealing with anxiety, dealing with things such as insecurity, with doubt, with not feeling unloved. How can I help these young girls? So I also created something called the I Am Project to help these young ladies, ages 13 through 18, that can actually feel love, have a voice for themselves, be able to come together and learn from one another, not from only me, but other people in their community. So I thank my community. I thank my family. I thank my community who's held my arms up. I thank for one, making me laugh all the time, creating content with me when I have to do my website or videos, when they want to cook with me, when they want to dance with me. Every aspect of my life where my community has definitely impacted me, strengthened me, held my arms up, took me on a journey that I would never take back. And I'm very thankful for them today. Thank you.
Beautiful. Let's keep it going for Takia. Thank you for sharing that. Full circle, right? Community held you up and you just build it right back. I love that. It's beautiful. All right, let's keep it going with our third storyteller of the evening. Let's give it up. Round of applause for Brooke Hoover. Welcome, Brooke.
I've always joked that my dad has as many lives as a cat. He's survived multiple hurricanes, a brain aneurysm, and 3 very messy divorces. But in the past couple years, while battling diabetes type 2, chronic kidney disease, and just an overall case of male stubbornness, like a cat, he has pushed those 9 lives to the test. April 2019, my dad goes in to have a little spot on his toe checked out by the doctor. About 5 minutes into the appointment, I get a phone call with my dad on speakerphone 1,300 miles away in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Hey, Brooke, it's Dr. Schwartzberg. Checked out your dad's toe. It doesn't look good. It's necrotic. I'm going to have to amputate it right now. I go into my default mode, which is 0 to panic attack. I start saying, well, which toe is it? Is it the big toe? Will he ever be able to walk again? And I think this is just so unfair for my dad, the man who's always been active his whole life, who walks his dog Latte 3 times a day. Well, Brooke, she actually walks me. My dad, probably more terrified than me and more terrified than he's letting on, says, Brooke, hush, I'm gonna be just fine. And somehow, I knew he would be just fine because he is like a cat. But I wasn't sure about myself. See, y'all, I'm an only child. I've built my armor around independence, self-reliance, not asking others for help. I don't want to bother people. I want to be the one helping others. But I realize, with my dad down there in Louisiana and me up here in New Jersey, until I could make it down there, I would have to call in the forces. Now, back home in Louisiana, we have a little something called the Cajun Navy. They come in when there's a natural disaster, such as a hurricane. So I go to town trying to assemble my own makeshift Cajun Navy. My dad has no family in Louisiana, but luckily I have the phone numbers of all of our friends and his neighbors in case of emergency. And I think losing a toe is an emergency. So I call up my dad's best friend and neighbor, Mr. Darrell, and I ask if he'll go to the hospital while my dad's going into emergency surgery. And Mr. Darrell says, sweetheart, calm down. I'm already on the way. And then, of equal importance, I have to make sure Latte, my dad's rescue dog, is taken care of. So I call up my dad's other friend, Jeff, and my best friend since 6th grade. Her name's Lauren, but I call her Big Daddy for some reason. And I make sure that they will go walk and feed and give booty scratches to Latte. Whoa, so I feel like I'm all set. Everything's satisfied. I don't have to ask for any more help. I pat myself on the back, and the next day, my boyfriend and I fly down to Louisiana, and we go see my dad in the hospital. He's now missing a toe. He's now battling sepsis, and he's a little doped up, but he's all in all in good spirits. We go over to his house where we're going to be spending the next couple days, and we open the door, and I just want to take a shower and go to sleep, and Latte's happily thumping her tail on the couch, and I look around my dad's house, and it's a wreck. It's a nightmare. And it's not Latte's fault. It's just overall clutter, carpet, chaos. I mean, it's not hoarders bad, but it will not be safe and healthy for my dad to return home when he's released from the hospital. So at 5 a.m. the next morning, I start scrubbing all over the place and cleaning. And my boyfriend, looking like Mahatma Gandhi and being the voice of reason always, says, we cannot do this on our own. We have to do yard work, housework, and all the dad work. So I have to call in more forces. My mama's family, who luckily is still kind enough to call my dad part of their own, they show up about 20 minutes later, donning gloves, and they start cleaning the shrubbery and the weeds out front. My aunt comes up from down the bayou in Thibodaux, and she starts organizing his closets. I'm going to have to stay at the house, so I call up my dad's best friend, Mr. Darrell, again, to see if he can go back to the hospital. He says, sweetheart, calm down. I'm just pulling into the parking lot. Y'all, I've heard when there's a catastrophe, there's a sibling who does all the practical to-do stuff, makes the lists. That's me, you know. But who's going to be the sibling, since I'm an only child, who's the emotional support? I'm not very good at that. That, y'all, is my dad's best friend, Mr. Darrell, the LSU baseball fan, the beekeeper from Algiers, Louisiana. And y'all, nearly 4 years have passed since the tow escapade, and my dad got his life back. He got his house in order. He didn't get his toe back. And he's back to walking latte 3 times a day. But actually, y'all, this past Christmas, he was found by Mr. Darrell in his tub, fallen on the floor. He had a MRSA infection, and after 8 surgeries and 4 months of hospitalization, I'm happy to say he is now out of the hospital. And this Sunday, I will go back down there to see him. Thank God. And while my dad keeps saying, Brooke, I'm gonna be just fine, I'm still worried about the aftermath of all this. Y'all know what I mean? But I think I will be just fine because we have our own makeshift Cajun Navy. And thank God for them. I will maybe now be able to also be the sibling who shows up emotionally for my dad as well. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Brooke. Let's keep it going for Brooke. We're all allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to cry. It's not fair. Wow. How's Big Daddy, though?
She's good.
Good. Didn't hear a conclusion for her. I want to make sure she's all right. All right, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to keep it going right away. All right, let's give it up for Kyra Peralt. Give it up.
So, I'm going to tell you guys about us. I'm going to tell you a story.
Kyra, do you mind if we give you the microphone just because we record it?
Can I project? Can I project?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me in the back now? No. Can you guys hear me in the back?
Not really. Sorry. You can cooperate. You're welcome to walk. Okay.
Can you guys hear me now? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story about community and how it changed my life over the last 3 years. It's going to sound kind of crazy, what I did, but I live it every single day. Back in 2020, I was at home adjusting to my new life, kids at home. We live in town, and the kids had to get out of preschool to come home because of everything that was going on. I was on Zoom calls trying to manage a business that I was trying to get off the ground, and wasn't having a lot of luck because I needed to raise capital in order to take it where I needed it to go. I was getting on Zoom calls in the middle of everything that was happening and seeing other women with lipstick and makeup on and wondering, how did they manage to wake up and put on red lipstick at a time like this? And it made me curious because they were all dressed up on these Zoom calls, and I wanted to know what is going on in their house, because I know what's going on in my house. I am trying to talk to investors, and in between that, I am giving kids popcorn and oatmeal and letting them watch as much cartoons as they want so that they can leave me to doing work. But I got curious about what women that were on the screens that I was watching were really, really doing. I had this curiosity that came, and it was like a bug. I don't know if you've ever had an idea that just bit you and it wouldn't leave you alone no matter how crazy it was. This idea came to me, and I couldn't get rid of it. I could not leave it. I could not push it to the side. And it was this idea to find out what other women were feeling, what they were going through. And it wasn't just women in town or in the US. I wanted to know what was happening with women in different parts of the world. I wanted to know about women who were in places I have never visited, couldn't get to, even if I could fly there to go and visit them. And so the idea was, what if I wrote my thoughts down in a physical diary and mailed it to a stranger and asked them to read it and write down what was going on with them and mail it to another stranger if they would do it. Now, this was at a time where I was wiping down pizza boxes. Everything that came, the mail, everything got bleached before it came through my door. And why in the world would a stranger receive a physical book from me? Why would they do that? But I couldn't shake it. I would literally wake up in the middle of the night wondering, when am I going to get the notebook? When am I going to get the notebook and try? So one day I ordered a black and white composition notebook from Amazon. And when the book came, I said, okay, got the book. Now I need to write. I wrote in it, and then I said, now I need a stranger. So just as strong as the idea came to mail the book to a stranger, the idea came, you gotta find a stranger, find a stranger, find a stranger. I was going around looking for a stranger, okay? Wearing a mask, I mean, this was 2020. And so I got invited to this Zoom call where women were talking about their business. They were talking about, you know, what we needed help with. Our whole purpose was to be there and to help each other. And so I got on the call. It was like 30 people, and everyone had to go around and introduce themselves. So it was a very long call. It was like 3 hours. So when it got to me, instead of saying, my name is Kyra Peralt, I'm founder of XYZ, I said, my name is Kyra Peralt, and I have this notebook that I wrote my thoughts in, and I'm looking for a stranger who would be willing to take it and do the same thing. And they looked at me the way some of you are looking at me now. They looked at me like I just got off the spaceship. And I said, nothing after that. And the facilitator had so much grace, she just kept it going. And then a woman messaged me, she said, I'll take it. And she was in North Carolina. I didn't know anyone on the call. She was in North Carolina, and I had a Zoom call with her, and I said, listen, I just want to tell you how to do this. I don't want to talk to you for long because I want to get to know you through what you share in the book. So we talked, we got off the call. I wrote a Medium article about what I was doing because I thought that it might make sense to write about this. So I wrote an article on Medium, and then I mailed the book to the woman. And then other people started responding to the article, so I had a snail mail list growing. And by the end of the year, I had a book in Australia, a book in London, Canada, Ireland, and the first book was going all over the US. So the following year, Washington Post found out about it. And then it just blew up. So I'm gonna fast forward, because I don't have all night. So it blew up, and today it's called the Traveling Diary Community. And it's where physical notebooks travel from person to person across over 30 countries. And some of the women are here tonight. One of them, this is my first time seeing her in person. I'm so excited to put this mic down and go and hug her. So it is a community that fills me with so much joy, to be able to meet people from other parts of the world through notebooks. And I'm a social media recluse. Is this my time? Okay. I'm a social media recluse. I like to say I'm not out there in those social media streets. I don't want to be. I'm over 40. I can do whatever I want to do, right? So the community, we communicate through emails, and we have virtual events and live events. And I'm going to stop right there. And I just want to thank you all for listening to my story about the Traveling Diary community.
All right, let's keep it going for Kyra. Is it going to happen right now? It's happening right now. Amazing. Has anybody else heard of this? Show of hands. Incredible. Wow. What a beautiful idea. Thank you for coming and bringing people together. Incredible. Ooh. We'll do one more. We're going to take a short intermission. I want to put it in your ear now before we go to break. So I know everybody's going to run to the bar. We have a little bit of space at the end of the show for a volunteer who feels compelled by the vibe of the evening, who would like to step up and spontaneously tell a story at the end. We'd love for it to be somebody from Partners for Health, but we have a few ringers in the room who've done this before. So consider it, think about it, but not too long, or you'll get scared. We're here to support. This is community. We would love to hear what you have to say. But for now, let's bring up our last storyteller before intermission. Let's give it up for Ann Lapel. Give it up.
Hi, everyone. There's a hard act to follow, 3 hard acts to follow, but I'm going to do my best. I'm Ann Lapel. I've lived in Montclair as a resident of Montclair for 45 years. But I've lived in Montclair as a citizen for 35 years. How did I transition from resident to citizen? Well, those first 35 years, I had a house, a husband, 2 kids, and a very demanding job. So when you go to the mall, you go on the highway. There are no back roads that you're going to explore. When you go to the supermarket, you're looking for the fast food that's going to get you home and give them dinner. And you never have time for anything but that road that's taking you from here to where you're going to earn some money. When I retired, a friend of mine, Loretta Freeman, said, "It's time for you to do something else, something that may nurture you and not be so difficult." She asked me to join a group that was going to advocate for seniors. Advocate for seniors? I don't know anything about advocating for seniors. Well, what a learning experience. I came to this with innocence, and in 2013, Partners for Health gave us money to conduct a survey to measure the quality of life for seniors living in Montclair. It was an incredible experience. I worked with people all over the community. We did face-to-face talks. We did an online version of the survey. We went around shaking hands, introducing ourselves. 800 people responded to that survey. Unheard of. And from that survey, we learned what the challenges and the difficulties people were having aging in place. All right. The heady part of it was the town was listening. They actually did something. They hired a director of senior services. Our lives started to change. We were cheering because we made a difference. But things stalled. Some of you may have heard about this particular situation. We were on the brink of getting a senior center. Montclair is the only township in the area that doesn't have a senior center. And I was working myself to the bone, advocating, having meetings, trying very hard to persuade people who are hard to persuade that this was good for the community. And at the 11th hour, the township said, no, we cannot deliver on this. It was a crushing blow. Many of us who were on the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee were depressed, to tell you the truth. And then the pandemic came. And that, believe it or not, was an opportunity because there was an existential threat and we had to galvanize. One person couldn't do it. We needed a troop, a team. We needed everybody putting their shoulders to the block because the township, the county, the government, they didn't understand that seniors didn't have the technology skills to go online and get vaccination appointments and stay online 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, banging away. What did we do? We used our collective resources, our skills at work, our skills with humans, and our downright hard stubbornness. And we convinced the county that we would actually get people appointments. We would use the old-fashioned phone. We talked to people. We actually provided transportation methodologies for them to get there. We scheduled wellness calls, and we even figured out ways to remind people to get to the second shot. In the process, we listened, and we realized technology is a huge mountain to climb when you were born before 1975. And so we formed another group called the Montclair Gateway to Aging in Place. We left the town behind. No regrets, because now we were in control. We built an army of super users of our own age. We called them the G team, the Gateway team. We sat around and said, okay, curriculum, what are we going to do to make sure our peers know how to tackle this world of the digital age? Well, the simple answer is ask them. It's called human-centered design. We have now built an army of people who are interested in helping others learn technology. Partners for Health is our partner in making this happen. From there, we've moved to actually a petition campaign, which is called Making Montclair Age Friendlier. In 3 years, we've achieved more than I had in a lifetime in Montclair, and certainly more than I had from 2013 to 2020. Why? Because everybody we reached out to understood we were in this together. There is no way you can age in place unless there's a community behind you. And we have achieved enough power in this community that we got the township to approve the hiring of a full-time social worker. They haven't hired yet, but they're not going to get away with it because they know we've got a voice. They know we represent a cadre of people who have realized they have power when they work together. And so working together with a partner like Partners for Health and other people in the community who see the justice in what we're doing has made all the difference. Thank you very much.
All right, Ann. Keep it going for Ann and the G team, of course. All right. Thank you. This has been a great event so far. Let's take it from Ann's book. Go meet somebody during the break. Build a relationship. Write a story. I don't know. You choose your adventure. We're going to take about a 10-minute intermission. Please hit the bar, use the restroom. We'll see you in 10 minutes. It's been a wonderful start to the evening, so let's keep it going, keep that energy up. Let's give it up for storyteller number 6, Michael Kovacs. Come on up to the stage. Welcome, Michael.
Hi there. Hi. I'd like to dedicate tonight's my little story to a friend of mine who passed away last week, and also the person this is about. Two people alone in a room talking. This is where all communities start. It's the center of, it's the molecule of where society is. Two people alone in a room together. And I want you all to know about a man I knew named Henry. Now, I've been a guitar teacher since I was 19 years old. I understand dressing like this, you probably think I'm a UPS guy, but no, I am a guitar teacher, have been for all that long. And in 2016, 2017, I wound up working for a national guitar chain that I won't mention, although it was pretty much the 13th circle of hell. I hated it there. I loved teaching, but I didn't want to do corporate. I just didn't want that. So, but God has weird ways. So one day this gentleman comes up and he's asked me about guitar lessons there. And I'm like, all right, sir, no problem. This is how I met my student, Henry. Henry was in his later 60s. He was a smoker. He was a great guy. Kind of intense when you first met him, but a lovely guy. Now, so there it is. He signs up for lessons, and boom, there it is. Henry and I alone in a room, talking. Now, it didn't take very long for me to figure out that this guy was very lonely. He was just, you got the vibe of it. He would come to the place early at the first lesson, 10, he'd come early. He'd stay a little bit later. And then he told me that he was recently widowed. And that the fact that his wife had passed away recently, and his therapist or doctor noticed him going into a deep depression. And they were like, "You're getting a hobby, and you're getting one now. Go." So he did, and he always wanted to play guitar. And he found me. So over the course of my time with Henry there, it was lovely. He'd again try to stay late, and he made friends with a lovely guy named Greg, who was a student after him. And they became buddies. And I helped Henry's dream come true. I had him jam with my band and do Louie Louie. To which I went, "Henry, you're doing Louie Louie with my band." He goes, "I hate that song." "Henry, you're doing Louie Louie with my band." "I hate that song. I hated it when it first came out, and I hate it now." "Henry, you're doing Louie Louie." He did Louie Louie. And it was on a guitar that was made with his wife's name on it and a rose on it. It was he got to rock out, and I was part of that. And soon after that, I decided I can't work there anymore because I want to have a soul. So I said, "Henry, if you want to come to this place I'm renting, please come." So he did. And then by the end of 2018, right around Christmas, he goes, "I got to go to the doctor and get a checkup. He had COPD." And I'm like, "Okay." So and I don't hear from him. And then on Christmas, I text him. I go, "Henry, hope you're having a good Christmas. Hope all is well." And he's like, "I'm in CCU at JFK Hospital." I'm like, "Whoa!" My wife and I bolt down there. And I see him in CCU. And I'm like, "Henry, what the hell is going on?" He looked fine, relatively speaking. We were talking. So he goes, "Oh, I'll be right. I'll text you. I'll call you when I'm out for lessons again." I was like, "Oh, sure, Henry, no problem." So 3 weeks go by, and I get a call from Henry. "I'm on hospice." I'm like, "Wait, what?" So I go to his house. I'm like, I know the hospice situation far too well. So there's the bed, there's the oxygen tank. I'm like, what's going on? He dropped weight, which he did not need to lose. And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to stop by at Henry's house on my way to another lesson every Thursday. I just make a detour and stop by and see him because this guy's going to cash out after almost 2 years of lessons and becoming friends. I don't want him to just bail on him now. So much to my surprise and utter joy, he began to get better. He began to put on weight. He began to just physically get better. Because a nurse said, you're not dying, you need exercise. And he just simply walked and whatever, to the point where 5 months later, or four months later, I go visit Henry on the Thursday, and there he is out in the back smoking a cigarette by the screen door. There's a hospice worker there playing Candy Crush board. There's a hospice worker there watching the screen TV. I'm like, "Henry, what the hell's going on?" He goes, "I'm on hospice." I go, "Shut up." "Yeah, great, right? Really? You're doing the hospice thing in reverse, baby." So when hospice was over with, I still came back every Thursday to see him. There was no lesson, there was no money, but I just wanted to see this guy. Just because they bring him like the most caloric fast food you could find, like Five Guys, double bacon cheeseburger, everything on it, big shake and fries. He needed meat on his bones. So long story short, we just met every week and we just talked, and that was it. And it was that magic of when you're with a friend, two people alone in a room talking, no agenda. And Henry spoke of his life and his past and his sins and of his joys and of everything in his life, his history about the 70s, about a lot of the 70s, about his failures and his everything. And I shared it the same, and we were just there. This went on for the rest of the year. This went on so around Christmas time. I'm at right before Christmas. I'm like, "Hey, Henry, what's going on? Here's some baked goods. What's going on?" It's Thursday. So I'm like, "How you doing? What's going on for Christmas?" He goes, "I got you something." And he hands me this box, this little thing, and I'm like, "Oh God, I didn't get you anything. I feel like a jerk." I get the box, and he gives me this pen. This pen is a fountain pen from Sailor. It has a music nib on it. And he asked me and then so I'm like, oh my God, thank you. He goes, "Be one question." He goes, "Are we friends?" And the world stops. And you know he's now vulnerable and he's asking, and I go, "Yes, Henry, yeah, we're friends." And I was very glad to have him as a friend. He passed away 2 months later from COPD. And to this day, I think about him all the time, even when I'm not using this pen. But two people alone in a room can change everything and can cure the disease of loneliness that we have. I thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. Let's keep it going for Michael Kovacs. Wow. Fountain pen, there's a lesson in there too, right? Constantly need to nurture it, take care of it, just like that friendship. That's beautiful. All right, let's keep it going. Our next storyteller to come up is Cinzia Cortese. Let's welcome Cinzia.
All right, so I'm driving down Bloomfield Avenue from Verona to Montclair, long commute. There are 5 cars on the road the whole way. All green lights, not one red light. Am I dreaming? No, it's COVID lockdown. Only essential workers can go out. I'm not an essential worker, but I'm volunteer at Tony's Kitchen here in Montclair. So let's going back in time. In 2019, many things happened to me, like beginnings, let's say. First beginning, I retired. Yes, I know I look so young. But anyway, and because I retired, I was also able to give more time to volunteering. And one place that I really wanted to volunteer was Tony's Kitchen. So second beginning. I went to Tony's Kitchen. I really loved everything. Everybody was so nice. The dining room, the attention that was given to the way we were serving our meals to the community, that really struck a chord with me because everything was so nice. It was not just, okay, here's the food. Everything was really planned with respect, with joy, with everything. And of course, I'm a foodie, and I always cook, but to cook for a family and friend and to cook for 70 or 80, totally different skills. So I learned that too. And then we go to the third beginning, which was common to all of us, COVID. Yay! So, of course, we know it was really hard for everybody, right? For some even more than others. For me, let's say it was challenging because it came together with another event in my life, which was the end of my 30-year-old marriage. Great timing, right? Yeah. So, not only was it so painful to be losing such an important relationship in my life, right? But also I had to do it in total social isolation, right? So I had the support of friends and family, but it was phone calls, Zoom calls. And the top of everything was a walk with one friend 6 feet apart. No, I needed people. I needed to have relationship. I needed to have hugs. I couldn't have it. I was alone. So to say that I was depressed is an understatement, okay? That came a call from Tony's. You have to understand, of course, everything had to change, right? They could not serve meals anymore, but a lot more people needed food at that time than they did before. And I don't know exactly what happened, but overnight, I was talking to Anne before, almost overnight, the whole operation changed. It was like, whoop, let's do it. So the dining room became a warehouse. And the whole day you had volunteers sorting food, packing food, and giving food out. The kitchen now was working from 8 in the morning to 8 at night every day. And I don't know how they did it, but I know that we went from, I think, providing 240,000 meals in 2019 to providing 1,500,000 meals in 2021. Yeah, one shift at a time. That's what happened. So again, I'm in this situation and I get the phone call, like, can you come and cook for 2 shifts? I said, yeah. As I have to say, I will probably remember for as long as my brain will retain the information, I don't know how long that's going to be, how essential it was for me to be actually part of this operation, to be cooking those days. Because, first of all, during lockdown, just to have a reason to go out and do something meaningful was really important. But in my condition, the fact that I had to kick myself out of bed, I had to get dressed, I had to know what day of the week it was. I had to go out and do something. It was so important. It was really taking care of my, mental unhappiness, disease, depression, whatever it was, because I had a purpose. I was doing something. And plus, of course, when you are cooking for, I don't know, you have like 100 people that you have to cook for, like 20 pounds of pasta. You really cannot waste too much time either crying or thinking about all the insults that you want to hurl at your ex-husband. You don't have time. It's like, how could, no, you can't. You have just to keep going. So I gradually became aware that my cooking shifts were giving me much more than I was giving to the community. I looked all around me and I'm like, yeah, my social life may be a little lacking right now, but really and truly, when I see my problems compared to those of so many other people, I'm doing okay, really. So the point of my story is that volunteering for me, in my opinion, is a win-win situation. Because not only are you helping other people in need, but you're helping yourself in so many different ways. I found this quote, and I was really surprised that it came from Winston Churchill. But anyway, but I do like it. I hope you like it too. Listen to this. You make a living by what you get. You make a life by what you give. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Let's keep it going for Cynthia. Never heard that Churchill quote. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep rolling. We just got a few more stories to round out our evening. Let's welcome to the stage Casey Corey. Come on up, Casey.
Thank you. I'm a little tall, so I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Sorry, I'm a little short. It's not your fault. My dad's fault. He's 6'1". No, 4. Just kidding. I can't remember. Okay. I'm also glad you ended with a quote because I'm going to start with one. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. This is a quote I learned a couple years back, right before I graduated college, which was only a year ago. But I especially love this quote because I feel like it validates me and grounds me in the type of person that I am. Being a 23-year-old who seemingly has this limitless solar power kind of energy of a 7-year-old, which is brought to you daily by attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. It's my superpower. My whole family has it. We're horrible. But having had this brain my whole life, and most of it being undiagnosed, I pretty much cruised the struggle bus for a while and had to find ways around my speed bumps, overly fast talking, bodily tics and jitters. I just can't really wait to relieve like an itch. Especially kind of mainly in my daily patterns of productivity and decision-making and task completion, which is obviously an essential skill of pretty much everything you need to do. But especially when you get older and there's more that's expected of you, which is why I also love this quote, because it kind of contradicts what's been regurgitated and passed down like an heirloom throughout life when chatting with family, advisors, or mentors and peers. Probably when you least want to hear it, like when you're trying to leave somewhere, a nice Irish goodbye. But they'll say, oh, that's not going to fly when you go to high school, and they're not going to let that go. College professors, not going to tolerate this one when you get there, so fix it now. Happy graduation, good luck in the real world. She's scary. When you have children, then you'll understand. But then you also hear, it doesn't get easier when you get older. Live it up now. Best time of your life. Lies. Or, you're not gonna like it when God thinks a beard looks good on you in your 40s and then you get one. You can't ever be ready for that. That was my aunt. But these warnings that I'm sure most of you have also heard in one way or another, they kind of make me feel a bit patronized as some not an adult and pressured to wish time away a little bit further just to puddle jump and get to those finally an adult feeling days. But I've felt at times also like my personal experience of living through the past 23 is said to be somewhat subsequent to the days that I have yet to even live or think about, disregarding all that I've accomplished, all that I've pushed through already, and only looking onward to some pre-assumed, predetermined path. Sit, listen, be judged, conditioned for only the best, reaching as high as you can, or don't, and coast and be judged anyways, because kids these days don't want to work hard. But like a playground made of cracking glass, equipped with hidden tricks and traps, and absolutely, definitely not enough big kid swings to fit me and me and me and so much of us, I feel. But there's a lot that you don't do in a place that's built to protect you with your own fear. I also have another quote. A docked ship is a safe one, but that's not what ships are made for. Granted, fear works in keeping a lot of us safe a lot of the time. I found that being too comfortable in the content of your safety or of the familiar holds us short of the potential for something bigger or better. I think we all can agree that life is short enough without everything we do every day just to gamble for the highest potential for the things that are said to bring us happiness. Now, get to the point of all this philosophical stuff. I'm sorry, school's ruined me and overthinking. It's 2020. Oh my God, 2020. And I've settled and accepted the fact at this point, I was a junior in college at Montclair State. I've accepted that I felt like most of the important, exciting, fun years of my life were extinct, probably. And that the odds of resurrecting any kind of remainder of a normal college life, that probably wasn't gonna happen. You didn't see where this was going after that. But I kept this eagerness and this energy. It's solar power, doesn't go away. And an open mind, I thought maybe might be enough to earn some kind of job or living or existence where I could have some sort of fraction of this golden happiness that is so pushed and so encouraged. And I thought, I'm doing fine living that way anyways, so what's the rest of my life? It's a long time. I don't want to have to feel like that. I wanted to feel happy and not have to earn happy. So that's something that I learned from my grandmother, Grammy, and it would remind me of her whenever I'd see her. She was also super hyper. She was a dancer. She was clumsy, kind of messy, very silly, but a very big kid at heart. And all the while, very, very, very happy. She kept playing her entire life, and my whole family can attest to that too. But that year, as we all did, I began reworking on me, which was all I had to have work on, and my own philosophy as a working towards adult with a new lens, while time passed, slowly healing the many wounds of the pandemic, but also of my perspective. And eventually, one day, I connected via Zoom call, just as the good Lord intended, with some lovely people. And it was from a local company in town from the school that I went to, Montclair State, it's this town. It was for some sort of internship that I felt like the perfect fit for. It's very rare that I always felt like a perfect fit for something, or I feel like anybody feels like a perfect fit for something, but this was a weird feeling. And I thought, a film festival as a production assistant? Okay, sounds like the ultimate playground. I mean, who doesn't love running all over Montclair, like playing Frogger on Bloomfield Ave, trying to get across without having to go to the lights and, be with whoever you are now. But nonetheless, I'll jump forward. In October, I got to see my enthusiasm, the drive for creation, and a passion for life being lived as a series of unforgettable experiences in each and every person around me for a series of 10 days. And that was when I became a part of the Montclair Film team as one of the interns for the 2021 Montclair Film Festival. I got to learn, reconnect, and above all, feel like I was at play with a bunch of other not yet adults, but also already adults that were guiding us along the way and building each other up themselves as they did. But all in all, what I found was that it's not age that allows us happiness, but the ways we utilize our time to find it every day. Not just in the things we do for ourselves, but in the things that we do and the things that bring us joy when we do them together, like seeing a movie or coming to a StorySLAM or like children on a playground. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Casey Corey. Very nice. She also throws excellent children's birthday parties. See her after this. All right, we got just 2 more stories. We're so excited to round out the evening. Let's welcome to the stage now Bob Davison. Welcome, Bob.
I don't know why I brought my phone up here. So I was raised in a house with a lot of love and no money. Anyone else raised in a house like that? It's actually not a bad way to grow up. You tend to get a lot of values as a result of that. So when I was about 7, my mother said, "Oh, guess what? You're going to camp." And honest to God, I remember saying, "What's camp?" And she told me what it was. I was going to go to the woods, and I'd been to Verona Park, but I'd never been to the woods. And you're going to go to the woods, you're going to go swimming and fishing and archery and this type of thing. So it was Middasing Camp in 1968. I was 7 years old. It was a YMCA camp. So I went there in 1968 and 1969. And then 1970, I graduated to the big boys camp, and I went to Kinnatini camp. And it was just a great experience, and I went there for free. We didn't use words like scholarship back then. I went there for free, but obviously somebody, the YMCA, or some individual made an investment in me. They decided to invest in that 7-year-old boy who they probably didn't know. And I got to go to camp. And that was just wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And many years later, after my parents had passed away, my sister and I were, breaking down the house and the effects. And my sister was taking most of the photo albums and all the papers and things of that nature. And she said, "Well, do you want anything?" And for some reason, I wasn't quite clear why. I said, "Yeah, give me that postcard." So I have the postcard here that I sent to my parents from camp. And my mother wrote out the address. So I'd like to see my mother's handwriting. And on the back, being about a few words, "I am having a good time, Bobby." And that was it. So, I took the postcard, I took it home, and I showed it to my barber. And then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, why the hell did I want that, of all things? So I put it in my dresser drawer and didn't really think much about it. So for the last 36 years, I've been a member of the Y. For 12 years, I was a member of the Hackensack Y when I worked out there. And for the last 24 years, the Montclair Y. And I really love the Y because it's one of the finest communities I've ever been to. You walk into the Y, you see the whole world, right? There's white folks there, black folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks, old folks, young folks, teenagers. They're a pain in the ass, but that's exactly where they should be. There's the disabled folks there, gay folks, Catholic folks, Jewish folks, Muslim folks, transgender folks, and everyone's just talking and working out and having conversations, and no one's arguing with each other. It really is a sense of community, and it kind of looks like this room, actually, which is the kind of spaces that I want to be in. So I hung around the Montclair Y for so long, they asked me to be on the board. So now I'm on the board of directors. So I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm on the board, and my day job is as the chief executive officer of the Mental Health Association. So we began to collaborate with the Y because now I'm on the board. I'm the chief executive officer of the Mental Health Association. I better do something. So Tasia Keppel, a young woman that I work with, applied for a grant with the Partners for Health, shameless plug, and they gave us the grant. So we've been doing a lot of mental health work with the YMCA, mental health first aid, Healthy Kids Day, things of that nature. So, that collaboration continues to grow. So now I'm on the board, and, if you're on a board, you got to raise funds and make donations, and that's important, so that's what I'm doing. And I've, just last year, one of the things we did, we needed to raise money for camp scholarships. So last year, my wife and I got to send kids to camp. And, that's just very moving to me. And I said, well, that's why I saved this card. And I was inspired by all the talks tonight. Every speaker tonight left me with something. But the young lady who was talking about her faith earlier, that inspired me. So I came up with the closing line based upon your presentation. May the circle be unbroken. By and by, Lord, may the circle be unbroken. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Bob Davison. Thank you, Bob. Beautiful. I also did just one camp, and my postcard was just all about the food. Parents were very displeased. Like, what else are you doing? 9 years old, right? Food focus. All right, we had several people come up during the intermission about sharing their stories. Thank you for volunteering. This is the kind of thing we love, right? Inspiring each other, connecting with each other. So we're gonna welcome to the stage a brave volunteer. We need an extra special round of applause. Let's give it up for Tina Marie. Come on up.
Hey, family. All right, if you hear butterflies and stuff, that's going on in my stomach, and there you have it. He labeled me functionally depressed. I'm about 30 years old at the time. I used to work in corporate America. I'm retired now. But I was having a tough day at work one day, and I felt myself just about to belt my manager. Like something was about to go wrong, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I go get checked, and I take this test, and he tells me, yeah, you are functionally depressed. Your serotonin level is off. And that means you're gonna have to take this little pill called Lexapro, 10 milligrams. This was back in the day when you didn't question your doctor. Whatever they said, you went with it. This is back in the day when physicians will hook, lock, and sync with pharmaceutical companies. So even if you weren't what they said you were, they'd label you quick and pump a pill in you. So this is before the time when you knew even to go talk to somebody about, is this right? You didn't even know to go research it. Does this make sense? You just did what the doctor said. And you bought whatever they told you were. So I'm about 30. I'm functionally depressed. I don't look like I am, but apparently I am. So I'm taking this 10 milligram Lexapro pill, and I asked him, how long do I have to take this for? He tells me for the rest of your life. I was like, to the hell I will. I didn't say that because you never talk to him. But I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. 10 years later, I'm still taking this thing, right? So I'm about in my 40s, I'm figuring. Another 10 years later, I'm still taking this thing, and I'm starting to notice something different about me. That I'm starting to not feel certain things. Like say, for example, if somebody passed, mentally, I would feel empathy. But emotionally, it was like nothing there. I could literally feel nothing. This was going on for years. I didn't know what it was to put my finger on it. I didn't even know how to explain it, this invisible thing, to my physicians. And whenever I would, they would they would just toss it off. Long story short, God started working me through this process because I started getting real desperate. Anybody ever been desperate for something? I mean, desperate. I was desperate. My parents didn't know, my family didn't know, my friends didn't know. I was in this dark little cave looking a certain way, but behind this curtain, the musician was at work up in here. So I started researching, but for the grace of God, I came across this word called numbing. It's when a prescription numbs you out. I didn't know. So then I became extra desperate, and I'm like, I'm gonna get off of this thing, right? And I basically just took myself off. I had tried a couple of times before, but nothing was happening. So I got real desperate, and I just went cold turkey, and I went off. So this is 2019. It was probably the worst year in my life. And then we hit COVID. So you know what that's like. But in 2019, all crap broke loose in my family life. And then I'm going through this thing where I'm no longer on this pill. And then I don't feel anything. And then I can't tell anybody anything that I don't feel anything, but that I'm feeling like this and this racket all in my head. And you know, and I'm walking around like a zombie, but I'm functioning. Oh, I'm getting it done. I'm making good money. I'm doing all the right stuff. But behind the closed doors, all hell is breaking loose. At around the same time, I get introduced to this place called Momentum Education, which, long story short, birthed me into my ministry, Sunday Born Flags, where I would minister with these really long flags. So imagine a 3x5 silk flag perched upon a 9-foot pole, just rhythmically moving to music. And you're dancing and dancing and dancing, right? So I would do that, and I was doing that for a while. And then I'm traveling places, I'm going on tour with it, I'm going to Ghana, I'm going to Paris, I'm going here and there. So on the outside, I'm moving and shaking. It's going, it like hit the tarmac and just went, shoo. And I kept thinking, if they just kick the bottom, this house will tumble. I was so fearful. I was so fearful that on the outside, I was so successful. But on the inside, if somebody just went, the whole thing was gonna crumble. So before it did, I stopped. And but for the grace of God, COVID was my excuse. Oh, we can't go out and see anybody anymore. I can't go out and dance. So this is wonderful, like I hide out in my room. I don't even have to say I'm not doing it anymore. Why? Because we can't go nowhere. Before the spell of Zoom. I look back in hindsight and I realized that that worst year I was having, I was going through withdrawal and didn't even know it. You're shaking your head like you know this, yeah? So you know what I'm talking about. And withdrawal doesn't look like that. My withdrawal looked like me sitting in my closet, just like I need a dark, quiet place, begging God, you gotta do something. I don't know what to do, but I have to be quiet because my mom's in the next room. She don't know. You gotta do something. My depression, my withdrawal looked like me going down in my kitchen and fighting it out. Fight, this fight, in the kitchen. You gotta help me, God. My withdrawal looked like me going downstairs in my living room and just wave the flag, do something, trying to like get some magic stirred up. I don't know what I was doing, but I was so desperate. I was so desperate, y'all. And I tell you, God got jokes, but he has a way. He has a way of getting in. So he started just putting out these breadcrumbs to me of different people, of different YouTubes like Joyce Myers and Abraham Hicks and, you know, T.D. Jakes and even Steve Harvey. Because he showed me that humor would help shift where I was. So if I was here, if I could find something humor, it would just like, okay, just hold me a little bit. He showed me that sunlight, that vitamin D is real. There's a real thing called winter blues. It's no joke. And he was like, you gotta get out in the sunlight. It has to be on you. He started putting me around different people and having me in different environments that started speaking things into my spirit and telling me things. Not, Tina, you're gonna be all right. Girl, you got this. None of that stuff. But they started really talking about my mindset. Not no, oh, just say all the positive stuff, think positive. I used to want to belt people that said think positive. I used to want to belt them. Oh, you'll feel better. When they would say the word feel, or just imagine yourself, and I'm like, they don't get it. I can't even connect to what, it would be like if you speak German and I'm speaking Spanish and we're trying to have a full-fledged conversation. I don't understand you, you don't understand me. So there's no communication going on, but you think you know. So then, through all this time, I'm doing what's called ministry. And that became my saving grace. The flags that I was doing started to take a different space in my life. I think it's because I was so desperate. He was like, I got to do something with this one, or else this is going to get ugly. So I'm going to have these flags become that much more to her than just out there dancing. So I'm going to have her go out on street corners, 6 a.m. in the morning, dead of winter, freezing outside. I mean, freezing. But I would go outside. I would be bundled up so I wouldn't be cold. And I would go out in Broad Market or wherever, Martin Luther King, wherever. I go out there with my flag, 6 a.m., press play on my button, and just minister with my flag. I call it ministry, I call it dancing. And I would think to myself, this is for all the people. This might be the first or only prayer they see during the course of the day. But it became my saving grace because it would take me out of the bewitching hours. So the bewitching hours are like 3 a.m. to like 6. That's the time when there's so much going on, when I couldn't sleep. And so I would get one thought, and it's called remuneration, you know, when you keep repeating it. And my thoughts would get magnified. The simplest thing would get magnified. But he would break me out of it, like, go out, minister. So that would like kind of like shift my attention. It would go from there, take it here. Go there, take it here. Up, here, up. It was intentional. He knew what he was doing. It was forcing me to look up. It was keeping my attention here, the source. And so I would be out there waving this flag for an hour until I started sweating and I'd go back in the house. Sometimes I could tell if people were impacted because the cars would stop, the lights would change, and they would still be sitting there. Because I would never watch, I would never look, I would be here, but I'm like, oh, thank you, God, somebody got it. Or somebody else walking in the middle of the morning would stop and then start walking. Fast forward, I'm now at the point where I'm like, okay, God, you got to do something about this. I want to feel. I want to know what love feels like. I want to know what peace feels like. I want to know what joy feels like. You say, have joy and have it more abundantly. This is the way I talk to God. He knows how I am. But he knows I love him. He knows we are like freaking frack. But he's like, be real, so he knows my conversation with him. But I'm like, you see all this stuff in the Bible? I don't feel none of this. I need you to make this stuff literal for me. I need you to make it tangible. I really need for you to help me to feel this thing that you say I should be feeling in this Bible, because I don't feel any of it. Mentally, I know what I'm supposed to feel, but physically, I don't feel a thing. So I would pray for peace, pray for peace, pray for, what does peace feel like? What does peace feel like? And then every now and then, usually in my car, I would get this little, like, it was almost like the window would open, like, shoo, shoo. And it would be like a moment of feeling. I would go, I felt something. I felt it. And it would go away for a while. And then it might happen again. And every time it would do it, I would just like freeze and just like hold on, okay. Something's happened. I'm gonna be normal. Fast forward, I started moving from praying for peace to praying for love to praying for joy. And I was like, what does joy feel like? So he started showing me what joy looks like. Joy looks like sunlight. Joy looks like being in earth and water and going to the park and being around trees and nature. Joy looks like just doing something for somebody just because and keep it moving. Joy looks like just helping a stranger out just because you don't know them, don't want nothing from it. Do it and go. So I started doing that. Time up? Okay.
Thank you for bringing the joy tonight, Tina.
I am
All
Tina
right.
Marie, curator of joy.
Let's keep it going for Tina Marie. Nice job. Thank you so much. Just keep it going for all of our great storytellers tonight. Thank you, Partners for Health, for an incredible evening of sharing and community.